History says that society goes into dictatorship directly from armed struggle. This has been history. Everywhere in the world, there is a gentleman. But America can excuse that Eritrea didn't go democracy after liberation. Before dictatorship takes place, you understand what I'm saying? It was totally insane. It's never been practiced by humans in the history of their being. What I'm saying is America was just bringing excuses to attack Eritrea. It had no good excuse. There is no way to compare Eritrea with South Korea. I mean, North Korea, because completely different stories. In North Korea, you're talking about three generations of a family running the country with absolute dictatorship, while in Eritrea is 1%. You understand? Person who led armed struggle taken over the country, finally going through the normal dictatorship process of transforming into democracy. As a process, I see dictatorship as a process. Why is America coming to Eritrea right now? What was the problem to begin with? Who created the problem? And what was Ethiopia always siding Ethiopia to oppress and to kill the Eritrean nationhood in the history of the Eritrean experience? Ladies and gentlemen, I got a very good article. I'm sorry, a video. I call them articles sometimes. Okay, and let's see what they're talking about right now.
Sweeping sanctions against Eritrea.
In an eyebrow-raising move that has reportedly sparked controversy and intense geopolitical debate, the United States is preparing to remove sanctions against Eritrea, a dramatic reversal many analysts believe is tied to the country's highly strategic position along the Red Sea. According to reports based on internal U.S. government communications, Washington is expected to rescind sanctions first imposed in 2021, reopening relations with one of Africa's most isolated states. Why now? Many observers reportedly point to the growing instability across the Middle East and Horn of Africa. With the Iran war disrupting energy flows and fears rising over the Strait of Hormuz, the Red Sea has suddenly become one of the world's most critical trade lifelines, pushing America to allegedly secure influence in Eritrea before the region descends deeper into chaos.
The United States of America has to be very careful not to repeat the same mistake that it did. Today, it has to be bilateral relationship, ladies and gentlemen. It cannot work. Unilateralism cannot work. The era of unilateral relationship is over. As long as Eritrea is concerned, it didn't accept it to begin with. It has gone through its process of whatever, the philosophy of self-reliance. Effectively, and so far, the Eritrean people have resisted all kind of oppression, all kind of dehumanizing sanction experiences, and America has come to this point after so many years. And I think this is a very good development, and I'm so happy. Congratulations, America. Congratulations, Eritrea. But yet, we haven't seen the end of the sanction yet, ladies and gentlemen. We got to be very careful here. You understand? It is in the process, not complete yet.
According to the reported State Department communication, the Trump administration is expected to rescind the sanctions order on or around May 4, effectively undoing sweeping penalties imposed during the Tigray conflict in Ethiopia. Those sanctions had targeted Eritrea's military establishment, senior officials, and the ruling People's Front for Democracy and Justice after Eritrean troops participated in brutal military operations alongside Ethiopian forces in northern Ethiopia. Yet today, despite years of accusations and diplomatic isolation, Washington suddenly appears eager to improve ties with Asmara. Analysts believe this is also meant to send a powerful warning message to landlocked Ethiopia, whose Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has repeatedly spoken about Ethiopia's supposed right to sea access.
Well, definitely, man, like the right of access to the sea has never been a problem. It's the legal right of Ethiopians to have that access through Eritrea or whatever the neighboring countries. But this was an excuse for recolonizing Eritrea. The Eritreans cannot go back in history right now. They cannot hurt the Ethiopians because they need to make trade and peaceful coexistence with them. So Abiy Ahmed's rhetoric was just an excuse to make a fight. His ambition of an imperial state, unfortunately, he cannot even do or control his own country. As such, a rejected regime. We've never seen this kind of very childish, infantile regime in history. A guy who bluffs, who lies, a pathological liar, taking power. We don't know what Ethiopia is going to do right now, and Ethiopia is in a troublesome situation. It has a lot of problems. There's a lot of divisions. There's a lot of killings, a lot of rapes, a lot of mistrust. And the Abiy regime is defeated, to my understanding, not only by the consensus of the region as such, but by the consensus of the Ethiopians as such, because Ethiopians have rejected him completely. The way I look at it, it's a matter of time for his downfall. So he cannot materialize on the issue of the port access between Ethiopia and Eritrea as far as the law is concerned. Ethiopia has only to do one thing: respect the Eritrean territories for access business there. That's the only way it goes. So America has realized finally, Biden administration created a lot of disasters that the Trump administration is facing right now in Ukraine, in the Middle East, everywhere, supporting Israel unconditionally. The government here, Trump is doing that. Hopefully he will realize what he's doing. But what he has come to understand about the East African politics is so beautiful. And I'm telling you, the U.S. interest can only be saved, can only be preserved by peaceful coexistence with the Eritreans, because the Eritreans, to my understanding, are the most peaceful nation in the whole Africa. There is no terrorism there. They are peaceful. They have taken enough punishment, and they have sustained it successfully, ladies and gentlemen, for America to recollect its ideas and to search for its soul. So I congratulate America for this. As an American, I'm so happy to see this. Thank you.
Comments alarmed Eritrea, which reportedly interpreted them as veiled threats of military action aimed at securing access to the Red Sea by force. Now, with America openly opposing any violent attempt to alter regional borders or seize coastal territory, some believe Washington is effectively trying to prevent another devastating Horn of Africa war before it begins.
Very good idea. I think it seems like we have picked up some education from experience. We cannot make another mistake right now.
In many ways, the entire situation feels almost unbelievable. Ancient trade routes, modern superpower rivalry, oil disruptions in the Gulf, African regional tensions, and global shipping insecurity are all suddenly colliding in one dangerously fragile corner of the world. To truly understand why this moment matters, you have to understand Eritrea itself, a nation whose history is as dramatic as it is painful. Eritrea was once an Italian colony before being federated with Ethiopia after World War II under a United Nations arrangement. But in 1962, Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie dissolved Eritrea's autonomy and formally annexed the territory, triggering one of Africa's longest and bloodiest independence wars.
But the problem was not the federation. Ladies and gentlemen, people got to understand something. The Eritreans, the cause of the Eritrean revolution was not really the evocation of whatever we call it, the federation that was constructed by the UN and Ethiopia. Our struggle started way back, way back. So even during the federation, there was some kind of movements going on. Armed struggle may not have started, but at the end of the day, in 1962, they annexed Eritrea to Ethiopia, right? Or with Ethiopia and our armed struggle a year ahead in 1961. So there is no relationship between the federation or the revocation of that, whatever, illegal, seriously speaking, Eritreans didn't appreciate it, didn't like it, illegal arrangement You understand? Of like indirect colonialism. So our struggle never had any relationship with the federation to begin. Our struggle was strictly from the colonial rule. We had to go straight to the independence like other Africans. We were denied that opportunity. So the federation had nothing to do with our armed struggle. Although a lot of people want to interpret it that way. Had the federation sustained in Eritrea, the armed struggle would still have continued for independence.
For 3 brutal decades, Eritrean fighters battled Ethiopian forces in a relentless struggle that finally ended in 1991 when the Eritrean People's Liberation Front captured control.
But you know, this is where America has to understand. All these problems were created by the United States, aligned with the United Nations and making the federation. So it's now time for Americans to realize the pain, the wound, the bloodshed caused by their misjudgment for their advantage, you understand, strategic advantage, while they could have done it without going through that process, without Africanizing the Eritreans. They could have done it with the Eritreans. It was a betrayal of humanity, ladies and gentlemen. But thank God, we are back to the table right now, and I hope this history cannot repeat itself.
2 years later, in 1993, Eritreans voted overwhelmingly for independence in a referendum that gave birth to the modern state. Yet independence did not bring openness.
First of all, the armed struggle achieved independence, but the Eritreans went further to do referendum, witnessed by the whole world. There is no point of return from that, 99.8% for independence. So we won the independence war by violence and at the same time ascertained, you understand, established our independence through UN-recognized referendum. Case closed with the Ethiopians. Now it's only time to deal with them. Directly nation to nation without any provocation, any problems and stuff. Our seas are open for Ethiopia. So thank God we have come to this point of understanding.
Instead, Eritrea evolved into one of the most isolated countries, not just in Africa, but on Earth. Under President Isaias Afwerki, who has ruled since independence, the country became a heavily militarized state with indefinite national service, strict media controls, suppressed political opposition,
It had no choice.
and no national elections since 1993.
No, it couldn't have done that either. National elections come with a very peaceful environment. National elections come after the dictatorship exhausts its life cycle. And so on. Because every liberation struggle comes with a mission, with a vision. No armed struggle has won any struggle and submitted power to anybody for democracy. It couldn't have been done in Eritrea. This is the nature of that history. You understand what I'm saying? So at the same time, Eritreans tried to do some kind of democracy in 1994. But it was a problem. The Ethiopians were a problem. There was war. They couldn't have vote. The over 100 million Ethiopians just by the little army that they had in the armed struggle. So the kids had to participate. Sawa was just, an exposed pressure by the Ethiopians created the Sawa. And then it served the independence. It maintained the independence and sovereignty of the country. Therefore, Sawa was not there to be militarize the Eritrean society, but to defend itself by any means necessary, let's say. And they defended it.
Human rights organizations have repeatedly compared Eritrea to North Korea, describing it as one of the world's most closed and authoritarian societies.
That was a Western Bellamy, man. Eritrea cannot be compared to that society, to that country at all. Completely different society.
Imagine that for a moment, a nation forged through sacrifice and liberation slowly transforming into one of the globe's most mysterious political fortresses.
It was just, everything was just a bluff, man. Everything was just fabrication, to my understanding. About almost over 60 dictatorships in the world, you understand? All the dictatorships we see in the Middle East, all the dictatorships we see in Africa, in South America, and also in Asia. Just picking Eritrea for selective punishment was just brutal, sadistic in a way, and the big political mistake that backfired against the American policy in general. So right now, let everything be forgotten. We cannot forget our history, of course, but we can forgive. We can forgive and go forward. There is nothing the Eritreans had done to abuse American interests. But of course, they stood against bullying. They stood against their, against the American policy to put them down, okay? To force them depend on them. Not to sustain themselves, not to make themselves, actually to help themselves through their ideology, self-reliance ideology. That was just against America. I don't know, for some reason, I don't understand, but it has nothing to do with American policy. It only has to do with the Eritrean society, to put it into a situation where it can feed itself 34 years. Old country, Eritrea, cannot have jumped into democracy. It was impossible. And all governments in the world have prisoners. The United States of America has close to 2 million prisoners. You understand what I'm saying? So it doesn't have the moral privilege to accuse Eritrea of putting some people to prisons. Also, justice has to be served and had to be served in Eritrea. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot do that. You cannot accuse Eritreans of terrorism. The Al-Shabaab connection has been found wrong. It's fabrication. Involvement in Tigray because Eritrea was colonized. The Badme area that we fought for, we died for, and we signed in the Algiers Agreement was rebuffed by the Tigrayan government in Ethiopia at that point, and now by the Wayanis themselves. So we had to turn that around. We had to capture our land, called Badme, but now we have very peaceful communication with the Ethiopians, with the Amharas, with the Oromos, with the Tigrayans. A process called Tumdo has created a magical experience, not only with the Ethiopians, but with the region in general. Therefore, America has no choice but make peace with the peaceful Eritreans. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do something. We're following this project a whole lot. America has not lifted the sanction yet, but it is in the process of lifting it. At that time, we will all congratulate ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Peace to you. Peace to you. I'm going to post this one in my English channel at the same time, ladies and gentlemen. So nobody's watching it. It doesn't matter. But I'll see you. Anybody interested to make interviews with me in English, let's come on. Let's come on. The channel is open for everybody. Let's look at the situation calmly, ladies and gentlemen. No America is going to come expecting something. What is going to ask from Eritreans? If they're talking about bases, it's not going to work because Eritrea has never offered its supports for any base, foreign base, Chinese, Russians. If there is some opportunity for business, yes, Eritrea can involve Americans in business. If there is any interest in the political, in the geopolitical safety, security against terrorism, you understand? Against pirates, Red Sea has always, the side of Eritrea has always been peaceful. Therefore, America can feel relaxed in the situation, lift the sanctions and see the Eritreans do their lives. Let's say, give them the opportunity to flourish. Give them the opportunity to create work in the country so there won't be no refugees going to Europe and America and all over the world. I'll see you next time. But we stay optimistic on this situation. Love and peace, everybody. The experience goes for peace. Anybody who wants to come here to come in and genuinely discuss our situation is welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll see you next time in the next video.